Everybody, I am Webb. I am the current Southeast District President of Tau Beta Sigma.
And I'm Marzen. I'm the current Southeast District President of Kappa Kappa Psi.
We're better together. Aww. That picture's actually taken here too, so that's really good. So really cool thing is that Iota and Epsilon Theta are hosting DLC, but they also hosted SED 2014, which is like a year right before Pi Theta Lambda. We hosted SED in 2016, and pretty much joint relations, like you guys together. One cool thing is that usually if we're like, we need something for like a ritual or something, I'm like, hey Pi, could you help us sister out? And then they're like, they help us out. Or like if we get lost somewhere, we're together. And I assume the same goes for
Same definitely goes for our chapters. I think one of the reasons that our chapters are both as strong as they are is because of the bonds that we've built with our cross organization, with our side, our sister organization in Epsilon Theta, and I'm sure the same is true for Theta Lambda with Pi. I mean, I feel like a lot of the ideas that we run by each other, we're serving the same purpose. So by doing things jointly, by interacting, I think we're both pushing each other higher.
So working together benefits the band, the community, and you. So one cool thing that Auburn does is we have high school rock stars. I'm assuming most of us have summer band camps that we help out, the high school and middle school like honor bands or just bands in general, your own preseason or band camp. Some people have concert receptions, and I know a lot of us have like joint formals and stuff, or like big, fancy events, truck setup and tear down. So
so that's us. That's something I put on there. Basically, what Georgia Tech did, I think it was 2 years ago. We had our own marching trucks. We had two big trucks for marching band, and they were very old, probably built in the 70s, just completely falling apart. So what we decided to do is we couldn't afford to buy new trucks outright. We started renting trucks, and there was this really cool joint effort between both the properties lieutenants of our marching band as well as through the support. Basically, in the manpower of Kappa Kappa Psi and Tau Beta Sigma, we were able to basically build out full shelving units for both our tuba truck and our drum truck. And because of the fact that we rent these trucks, we get them in typically July, early August. We return them back in January. So it's this cool thing where every year we have a ton of work to do with it, but it's something that we're able to work together with, like I said, the properties lieutenants in our marching band to get that done.
So joint ideas that can benefit your chapter. So joint ceremonies, I touched on this in my last workshop, like joint rituals. Joint formals, we just discussed that interesting really nicely. And maybe you can host them for your band program. There's some schools that do that. Joint socials. So do you guys do that? I think some of ours.
So we don't necessarily, I guess, we do a social event called date night. So we've done different things. We've gone to Netherworld, which is like a haunted house type thing, and basically the social chairs for each of our chapters organize that typically every semester. So it's really cool. One of the big things for us, I know we didn't touch on necessarily everything on here on that list, but we do cross-organizational bigs and littles. I think this is something that has really ignited that relationship between our chapter, at least in my case, our chapter and our sister chapter Epsilon Theta. It's there from the beginning, so it's not like you go through your process, whether you're in Kappa Kappa Psi or Tau Beta Sigma, you go through your whole process, and then at that point you kind of figure out how to interact with the other organization. It's there from the day you start, from when you go to first degree, you have your big sister and you have your big brother, regardless of which organization you're in. Through that, they go to your membership education classes, and they're telling you about their organization while you're learning about theirs. And it's really an incredible setup. And if it's not something that your school typically does at this point, it's definitely something I would recommend looking into because it's helped us immensely.
We do cross big and littles as well, and like I'm part of World Fam. And essentially essentially all it is that like we have our joint ritual, and then after the joint rite, it's like this is your big brother and or big sister. You get a real nice gift, and so you like periodically see them throughout, not your process, but like your once you're like an active, excuse me, you'll typically see them throughout, and like that's kind of where your bond is. But a lot of the times, like I know for me at least, it's like based on like your family line on how often you meet your big slash little. But we can touch on some other things on this list as well. So joint recitals, I think someone, I don't know what chapter it is, does a like MLITB like talent show. So like the two of them pair up and they're like, hey, you can do this really cool thing with, I don't know, like what are those things? Whack, beat or whack? I don't know.
Boom whack.
Yeah, boom whackers. You know, something cool like that. Joint recruitment efforts. So one thing we do is we have a real cool like we all like after once school starts we all go to the rec center pool and all just hang out, and it's like a recruitment effort so you can see if you like one or the other. They have like a rock climbing wall, we all jump off of it, so it's really fun. Joint fundraisers, so maybe you're like, oh, let's do a fundraiser like a restaurant night, or you decide to, I don't know, host a 5K. Epsilon and Troy University and Auburn are doing a 5K, so shout out to you guys. And then philanthropies. So cool thing is a lot of philanthropies have certain sort of mission that's sometimes similar to what we do. Some of them are like leadership development, or it's working like with kids in the arts and programs like that. So obviously for TBS, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, earning the music badge. There's also a lot of other philanthropies that focus on like disabilities or people in impoverished areas that don't have access to like music or fine arts programs, and so they implement these programs and they need volunteers. So like maybe like as a chapter, you're like, oh, let's go take like 5 Psi, 5 Sigma, and like let's like help them out. So that's also a possibility.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that's pretty big for us is as far as recruitment's concerned. Recruitment's not a competition. You're not competing with your sister chapter or your brother chapter for those interested bandsmen. That's not the point of this. The point of our organizations is to honor outstanding band members and to give back to those bands through our service. If you're directly competing with the organization with which your organization is joint at the top, that's something that I hope people don't forget, but we are, at the top, we're one organization. Jessica's in here. Jessica's a national council member. They're working constantly with TBS's national council. So if we're trying to recruit the same people, you shouldn't think of it as a competition. You should honor them through the extension of a bid if that's something they're deserving of. But you shouldn't say, okay, well, they're interested in talking to Sigma, so we as Kappa Kappa Psi are not going to invite them to join. That's the wrong way to look at it.
Making the bond beautiful. So this is when Auburn hosted SED. It was crazy time. So communication. So having open lines of conversation and planning and strategy to serve. So maybe having like a group meeting with both ECs or EBs or executive groups, and then group chats between the two. Sometimes group chats turn into just like mean spam, so like be wary, your chapters, having cross big and littles. And one thing I really like that he mentioned is that they have joint chairs, or not chairs, they have like service or social chairs that work together to do joint things. I think that works really well for a lot of people, is having like this respective person and this respective person working with their counterpart instead of just being like, this is our joint group. So be wary. Mutual respect, that's what they're saying. Understanding the similarities and differences of the organization and chapters, but we all have we're here for the same purposes, serving our band and honoring those members, our people, and still recognizing their individuality. So like, I love pie, but I couldn't be a brother. Like, I don't like moving the big, the garbage cans of water. Like, I'm strong to carry it too, but I don't like that. So, but I love uniforms. Maybe it's the smell, maybe it's sewing. I don't know what it is, but I love it. So, whatever floats your boat, and then growth, making the bond stronger on both sides to increase fellowship and how you can serve the bond. So, again, recruitment events, joint recitals, service events, socials, we've heard it, fundraisers, philanthropies, and goals. And one thing about fundraisers is that maybe you see a need in your band, that both of you can achieve together. So if you're like, man, like they said with their trucks, or if you're like, I think we really need a new facility, like, or to improve our band field. If you're like, you go to your director, you're like, it might cost, let's say it costs $1 million. Obviously, you don't have $1 million, but if you set for a 10-year timeline that you and KKSI are working together to maybe earn, again, I'm just spitballing crazy numbers here, so like, don't take it all too literally. But if you're like, we're gonna earn $10,000 a year to go to the band. Again, that's a crazy number, but if you're like, that's our goal, and every year for the next 10 years you did that, you can see yourself with a new band field, and you did that. You guys together did that. You made your community better, you made your band better. That's all on you, and that's something you can take pride in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've experienced that. I know I have a lot of my chapter brothers in the room. Something that we did, not necessarily the people that are in this room because it was started far before we were here. Our band director is he's a percussionist, and one of the things he requested was for us to try to save up and help to defray the cost of a marimba, to afford this very nice marimba. It's not something we would have been able to do together. I mean, total the cost was what, $12,000. We couldn't do that ourselves. Epsilon Theta couldn't do that themselves, but we worked together, and it was years. I mean, it was years of putting money into that fund, raising fundraisers. But through that, you're able to achieve things that are greater than you can do alone, greater than you can do just as your own chapter. So, really doing things jointly opens up a whole new world of possibilities as far as serving bands is concerned.
Alright, so one thing we can do that's really cool is it's like a SWOT analysis. I don't know if you've all heard of that, but it's your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. So for the purpose of this, we're really just going to look at your strengths and weaknesses. So I kind of question, or I would like you guys to, I'm challenging you guys to, like, on your paper, or if you would like to raise your hand and suggest some things, order a couple of strengths that you guys have in your chapters. I saw your hand, yeah.
Are you asking like the strengths between the two organizations, or are you asking the strengths of the individual chapter of like
of your individual chapter?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like their chapter basically is very disciplined. Try to accomplish every goal that focus on that, like such a personal growth.
Ambitious, leadership, organized. Yeah.
Something with the Alpha Eta chapter, we've gotten a lot better. KKSI. We've gotten a lot better utilizing our committees, which in turn makes our chapter meetings more efficient and just overall increases morale. So like we just like really make sure our committee chairs are like using the committees really well.
Delegation. Or I think one hand was in the. Oh no, that's your arm. Okay. Go ahead.
I has a really good diversity of section representation. So that helps.
Rotation, individuality. Alright. Could anybody name a couple of weaknesses that their chapter has?
Example, I think communication, because since we're getting so big, it's becoming harder to really engage the bond. So I think like we over the past year have increased with 24 new members or new sisters, and so it's created this thing where it's like, how do you keep the bond even if you're growing? You know, it comes to a point where you'll start to see cliques, or you'll start to see groupings because there's so many of us now.
Size, what do you think?
At Epsilon Xi, one of our weaknesses is scheduling, because we have like a huge diversity of members, so it's hard to get the full sisterhood at any one event to do something in full force.
I agree. Scheduling.
In Eta Phi and Beta Development, our biggest weakness, in my opinion, is that we have, like, our different members have different reasons and purposes for why they're in the sorority, and so they each want to get something different out of it, and because of that, people can be less involved or more involved, so it puts a lot of pressure on, like, our exec, so our exec is very overpowering and just very forward because there's not a lot of back on the chapter to like do things, so they're like making it.
Misunderstanding, miscommunication. Okay, so let's think about all these things for a second. So you guys all know the strengths of your chapters, but have you ever thought about how your strength can maybe, or how, your strength can be a strength for someone else's weakness? So someone just mentioned like communication, and then we all talked about how sometimes we have groupthink. So maybe if someone in KKSI is like, hey guys, we use like, I think Alpha Mega does Turtle Talk,
Turtle time.
turtle time. So where everyone has a chance to express their emotions. So maybe the weakness where we have an issue of pressures from the EC and everything, those things can solve each other. So again, making each other better. What was another weakness that was? I want to say scheduling. That was the one thing, right? So we talk about scheduling being a weakness, but are you communicating like, hey, I am only available at these times. Can we all, or we all know what time we all have been together. Are we all allotting for someone has to study, someone has a job to do, all these things that matter to each other. Are we communicating that to me, like my job's really important outside of topic sigma? Or am I saying that like, hey, like I want to get to grad school, I gotta study. Like, I would love to come to the service event, but I can't. Are you communicating that to each other so that it's addressed in the same way?
Well, with our chapter with Theta Rho, we make a master schedule where everyone goes ahead and puts in their, their class schedule, your work schedule, and then from there, whoever the president is, they line it up all together.
I think another thing that goes along with this is a lot of times when you have both organizations on your campus, maybe I'm making a generalization, maybe I'm making assumptions, but at least in our case, Iota and Epsilon Theta are pretty similar. It's a lot of the same type of person that's in the organization, and we face a lot of the same problems. We face a lot of those problems together. One of the big things, thanks, Nate. One of the big things that we dealt with about, I guess, 2 years ago. We had a chapter room. We had a room dedicated to both of our chapters within our music building. If you don't know that much about Georgia Tech, we did not have a music major up until last fall. So fall of 2016 is when we started having a music major. Georgia Tech's very unique in that everyone that's in the band is there just voluntarily. No one has to be there. And I think that's a lot of the sentiment that folks share in Epsilon Theta and Iota is the fact that we're all there because we want to be. Through that, like I said, we had this chapter room, got a little sidetracked there anyway. We had a chapter room and it was, as long as I've been around and far before that, where we would basically just trade off weeks where we would use it. So we had bi-weekly chapter meetings, or we still do have bi-weekly chapter meetings rather than weekly chapter meetings. But the music program was actually expanding. So we have a great music program. We had 360 people in our marching band last year, a year and a half ago. But we added a music technology undergrad degree. And through that, they needed that room back. So basically, we had to go through the process of working from our side and working alongside Epsilon Theta of basically completely evacuating this place where we had all these memories and a ton of just material objects. We had so many paddles from other chapters and other gifts. But I think through that joint effort, both of us had both chapters had a lot of trouble kind of letting that go because it meant so much to everyone. But I think we became a lot closer through that joint effort, and it wasn't something that either of us could just do on our own. It was something we really had to talk out, and we really had to work through together to make sure that we did it. We did it on time, and we did it well.
Okay, so we sort of answered it, like, how do you have any strengths that can help each other out, and then not meant weaknesses, but we did that. It's a good exercise. Yeah, okay, so this is all our. Oh snap, we did it. So this is our information for all the questions and stuff, and I know we have 5 minutes, so I want to keep these questions going. So if y'all want to, or this exercise essentially going. Anything your chapters do or jointly do that you guys see benefiting each other, and that's and another thing I do want to say is that you don't have to just like be like, oh, like me and Pa are cool, so like that's the only chapter I talk to. Like you can be like, oh, Tuskegee's down the road, like let's go hang with them, or like within Cookman, y'all in Florida, so I like will go if I'm in Florida, but being like, hey, like let's go see them. They're doing this real cool thing. I want to go see them do something or just anything like that. You like reaching out to other chapters in your district really can show you a whole new way of how things are done, and hopefully, like I know I've seen things in Retro. I'm like, dude, this is so cool. Like I want this thing in our RIT, or there's things you'll see in like. I don't know, even in service projects, you're like, they use this cool app Slack, like, they all know what their duties are, like, I'm sitting here looking busted. I don't, you know, so give your, sorry, give yourself a chance to see what other chapters are doing and better yourself. And if anything, sometimes better them. You know, if you're seeing that like, oh man, they're like really struggling to figure out, you know, who's doing what, or they're, you know, they've delegated everything out so far that they're all confused. You know, don't be afraid to just be like, hey guys, like that was so cool. You know, we do this thing in my chapter that helps with some of the issues I saw, but like that was so awesome. You know, just compliment sandwich obviously first, but also it's, you know, that's a really cool thing that you do. But yeah, go ahead.
Yes, any other questions? Anything that y'all run into, any issues you have through these joint relations that you know you think there are struggles that you can overcome or that are difficult to overcome?
So I'm from Eta Sigma with KKSI, and we actually obviously visited NatCon this past summer. One of the things that we struggled with was there is currently kind of a difference in attendance policy for Zeta Psi and Eta Sigma. So for Zeta Psi, they had said, you know, sisters have to serve at NatCon for this many hours. That was like from their bylaws and everything, whereas with Eta Sigma, it was kind of just like, okay, volunteer and help, you know, with whatever we need. So there was kind of a struggle between our e-boards because, you know, there's a lot more sister participation because it was required, and that wasn't reflected on the brother side. At the end of the day, we got everything done, we worked it out, but I think because there's certain policies that can be different between, not necessarily because it's Psi and because it's Sigma, but just because it's two chapters working together that may not have the same approach, it can be kind of conflicting to figure that out. But at the end of the day, we worked it out. So.
And that's especially difficult with large groups. I mean, like you said, it's not necessarily KKSI or TBS that's causing that issue. It's just the fact that when you're working in groups like that, I mean, we can look at it within our bands, getting everybody on the same page is very difficult. So that's one of those things that I think, at least with us, having really open communication channels and trying to really sit down and discuss these issues has helped a lot. And obviously that doesn't solve everything. We still run into the issues of legislation, but it's one of those things that you have to sit down and you need to get to work and try to solve any of those issues that come up as best as you can.
And I do
You're not always going to.
sorry. I do have one quick suggestion is one thing that we do, not in our chapter, but I know like in my major at least, when you have random groups of people come together to do a massive project, we do team charters. And we decide like, hey, these are the rules that we're going to follow as we go throughout this project. This is the expectation we have. This is the goal that we have at the end. This is our mission. This is our vision. And that throughout the process that everyone's responsibilities are outlined. So maybe if you and your joint ECs, EBs are like, you know, these are the things that we want to see happen this year from both council or from both chapters, that together you guys can make that as a whole. And I guess my but I think you had a question.
What specifically for your two like cross chapters? What exactly do y'all use in order to keep your open communication? I know you talked about apps and stuff for like group messaging, but what exactly do y'all use to keep a better relationship with each other?
We use Slack. That's something that we moved to a year and a half ago on our side, and then I think TBS has recently moved to it as well, maybe in the past semester. So yeah, Slack is really great for anyone who hasn't used it. Take a look at it. It's better than GroupMe if you're using that as your official communication platform right now. That's not going to solve every issue. That's a good platform, but that's all it is. It's a platform. It's really what you make of it that turns it into a quality line of communication. So it's really just about reaching out and being the one. If you see an issue, take the initiative and reach out to that person, reach out to the other chapter. Don't wait for them to do it.
Hi, I know you're in this room, so like correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't really have like a mutual thing that like keeps us like in contact all the time. We're just more like, oh, you're in good one, I'm in good one, let's talk. Like, and other than that, we really just text each other a lot of the time. So a lot of it just, like, oh, you tell someone on the EC or EB, and then they go and tell their respective person. So if I'm like, oh, girl, I want to have an ice cream social with KKSI, my person will be like, girl, we want to do this with Dawn. They're like, yeah, that sounds good, we'll find a date. And then we just kind of do it. But, I mean, again, that's obviously rather simple, but we love each other, so. Wait, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to like add on to that, like at Alpha Omega and New, what we do is we have a Sigma side page on Facebook, and what it has all the members on it. And basically, like 2 days ago, I posted like, hey, I want to go to the course ropes that the res just had. Who wants to go? And so we like, if you want to do something, you just post, and we all do it together. And then joint exec has their own joint exec page like, hey, all like, can we meet up? There's something we need to talk about, or like, we're gonna have a joint exec retreat next week where we like go together and like bond as a joint exec. So just like things that we do.
All right, guys, we have run out of time. Thank you guys so much for coming. I hope y'all got a lot out of it. And then this is all our contact